right. It is 4 p.m. on Monday, May 5th, 2025, and I call this meeting of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council to order. I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge our members who aren't here, Leah and Autumn. Their service is still greatly appreciated. First, we will have the approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the agenda.
I second that motion.
We have a properly seconded motion. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have a special presentation from Mayor Blaine.
Good afternoon, Junior Mayor Gillespie and the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. For the benefit of the audience, I will say that the City Council relied on its own understanding of a new generation for far too long. I'll never forget a presentation made to us by a gentleman on our staff, John Rogers, about another city planning recreational opportunities for the youth there. The people my age had all kinds of ideas about what the youth would want, and as it turns out, he talked that City Council into going into the high school and doing a survey. And it turns out that the people my age were very, very wrong about what people your age look forward to. That was one piece of the impetus behind our forming a junior youth council, and we sincerely believe that you have already and will continue to bring, those that succeed you, will continue to bring good ideas before this council that will not only impact current age old folk, but the future generations as well. I am very proud, first and foremost, that you all have been selected for this group. I want the audience to know that you first self-appointed yourselves. You first identified yourselves as leaders, and I think that is the greatest gift of all, because you already recognize who you are and what you're about, and that you have the capability to be a leader now in your youth and to be a leader in whatever community you become a part of later. We're also very proud that you've had several successes this year, one of which is each year's Mayor's Youth Advisory Council is asked to come up with one community project, but this body has come up with two. I won't say any more about that. I think that's probably part of your presentation, but please know that on behalf of the City Council and the people of Conway, South Carolina, we thank you for your service. We're very proud that you were willing and able to serve us in this capacity. We wish you well in all your future endeavors. I think two of you will be with us next year, and our mayor, Ms. Gillespie, will be moving forward into her collegiate career. Again, we're very proud of you and we thank you for all you do. That is the end of my presentation, and I thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Next, we will have City Administrator Adam Eric discussing planning and events for the upcoming holiday season.
Well, good afternoon. I think this is the first time I've gotten to address you, so hello, my name's Adam. I'm the City Administrator, and I want to thank you for your service to this Advisory Council. We actually do take your input very seriously, and again, thank you. A charge, if you will, for you over the summer to consider. As you know, we celebrate the holidays in Conway a little differently than anyone else, and for the most part, we plan those activities and those celebrations in-house. And just like the Mayor mentioned a moment ago, we don't often involve the youth in those planning efforts. So perhaps there's something you all would like to see that we're not including. So think about the holidays that we have a big input on. We do Halloween, of course, we do Christmas big, but we've started to do Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, and spring, Easter, and even now we're starting a little bit into the summer Independence Day season. So when you come back in the fall, if you have any ideas that might help guide us in our planning efforts for the holidays, please bring those even to the first meeting so that we can start working on some of those ideas. We do challenge ourselves to do bigger every year, so what your ideas come up with might be part of that inclusion in the next year. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Emmerich. Next is consideration of design for the mural project. Ms. Hyman.
The mayor briefly mentioned that this group has worked on two projects this year. One being, they're starting a recycling program at Conway High School, and that will start in August. So that was their first accomplishment. And the second, they wanted to commission a public art project for the city of Conway. As you know, public art has been very important for city council and city staff and the city as a whole in the past couple years. So with that, we've done Teal Alley, we've done some other mural projects downtown, but this group really wanted to do something that tied in Conway High School. So with that, they had a proposal, here, let me click forward. To add a tiger drinking from the Waccamaw River. This actually started similar to our employee mural that we have on the side of the building next door. It started from a photograph that the member Autumn Brown took, and then we monkeyed with it and added the tiger at the group's suggestion for drinking out of the river. Next step will be to turn this into something that's paintable, maybe similar to the paint by numbers that we did on the employee mural. This will be located down at Riverfront Park where the restrooms are. There's an exterior wall there now that has suffered some damage, so the wall will be rebuilt with this painted on it and done by this group with help from city staff. And the hope is to start that this summer, and public art hospitality funds will be funding the project. So this is something really exciting that the group can each contribute to. And now I want to hand it over to John Rogers. I think you had something you wanted to add. Oh yeah, my bad, sorry. You do need to vote on this group. I'm sorry, I got a little carried away. If you can please take a vote on this mural moving forward.
So, as Mayor Blaine mentioned, we do have one graduating member of the council, Junior Mayor Gillespie. So at this time, Mayor Blaine will present to Junior Mayor Gillespie her nameplate, which will be hers to keep.
I was supposed to do this earlier. This is our second year of having a mayoral youth advisory council, and it has become one of our gifts to any graduating seniors that we give them their nameplate. It may look good on a dorm desk or anywhere that you choose to use it, but if Mayor Gillespie would come forward, please. It is with great pleasure that I congratulate you on your high school graduation, that I congratulate you as being the second junior mayor of the city of Conway, South Carolina, that I wish you the best in everything that you might attempt to do. And if there's ever any way I or members of this council or this staff can help you, I assure you we will, but to present this to you in your honor. God bless you, Kelly. Thank you.
We're going to move to council input. Do you guys have anything to add on to what we just talked about?
I do not. Yeah, I don't either.
All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Seconded.
We have a properly seconded motion. All those in favor? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
somewhere.
Is this it?
Yes.
I was about to take yours. They are? Okay, Debbie's going now.
And if y'all will sit right here in front. Callie, you want to set your stuff down? If y'all want to sit any of your stuff down on this bench, you can. It's okay. If you'll slide over just a little bit. Okay, perfect. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Can you slide over? There we go. 1, 2, 3.
We will continue this meeting as outlined. Good afternoon and Cinco de Mayo to everyone. It is after 4 o'clock now on May 5th, 2025, and if Brandon Wilson will please come forward, he will lead us in an invocation and in the Pledge of Allegiance.
You guys will join me in prayer. Father, we love you, and we're so thankful, Father, for you being in our lives and you giving us a beautiful city like Conway. God, we thank you that our city cares about the next generation, about the youth that's coming on to be the leaders that we will one day submit to and follow their leadership under your reign, God. I'd also like to take a minute to thank you that those beautiful tigers don't really exist on the Conway riverfront. We praise you, God, for all of your creation, great and small. And God, we just thank you for being in our lives and being over our great city. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
You guys will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so very much. God bless. First on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. White?
Observation.
Please, whatever you need to say.
Number A, if you would, it's about the mobile softy ice cream. My question was, is there any way that we can include the other parks in this so that they have access to them as well? Or is that what they want?
This is what they asked for. If they would like the other ones, they can come back and amend the franchise agreement. We can't add to it because it's been advertised for today's meeting.
Very good. Please come back and ask for it. Thank you. Now I move that we approve the agenda.
The consent agenda. Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Goldfinch?
I'll second Mr. White's motion.
Properly seconded motion to approve the consent agenda as it is set forth. All in favor, please indicate your favor with a showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. We'll move on to item, pardon me just a minute, please. Special presentations. I will do them in this order. Item A is a presentation of a proclamation recognizing May 2025 as National Tennis Month. B, presentation of a proclamation honoring the American Legion Post 111. C, a presentation of a proclamation recognizing Araxia Awareness. And D, a presentation of a proclamation recognizing Earth Day. anybody who's interested in tennis? I'm sorry? Okay, well, okay, we'll wait for Chris. That's not problem. Is Louis Moore present? He's here, he's with American Legion Post 111. In his absence, the proclamation reads, Office of the Mayor, Conway, South Carolina, in celebration of the 100th anniversary of American Legion Ori Post 111. Whereas founded in 1924 and chartered on February 25, 1925 by the National American Legion, Ori Post 111 has for a full century served veterans, their families, and the local community. In so doing, this post has proudly upheld the principles of the American Legion. And whereas the post is a steadfast advocate for all active duty military and veterans in assisting with the receipt of benefits, medical care, and transitional support to veterans returning to civilian life. Care packages have been provided to countless soldiers, as have outreach and moral support to deployed military and their families. And whereas in our community, Post 111 volunteers in efforts supporting schools, first responders, and charitable initiatives. And whereas other initiatives Post 111 participates in and supports include youth programs such as Boy and Girl Scouts of America, patriotic events and remembrances, Americanism and flag etiquette, volunteerism, and leadership ventures. And whereas in May 2024, Post 111 Legionnaires were elected to positions never before held by its members. Legionnaire Bruce Donegan was elected Department Commander, and Legionnaire Louis Morse was elected Department Historian. Therefore, by the power vested in me as Mayor of the City of Conway, South Carolina, I proclaim that this century of service by American Legion Ori Post 111 has improved life for us all. I encourage all to celebrate and honor this steadfast group, the services they continue to provide, and the elevation of its leadership. And witness whereof I have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Conway, South Carolina, to be affixed this 5th day of May 2025. It is signed by yours truly and attested to by the City Clerk, Ms. Alicia Shelley. We'll hold that for whoever might be interested in owning it. This second proclamation is for Araxia Awareness. Is Ms. Beth Ann Sawicki here? You are. Hi. I didn't know who I was hugging. If you'll join me, please. Yeah. This proclamation also from the Office of the Mayor, Conway, South Carolina, concerning Araxia Awareness Day. Whereas May 14th, 2025 is designated as Araxia Awareness Day across the United States to unite community members, children with Araxia, and their families and friends to become a force of unstoppable advocates for victims of childhood apraxia of speech. And whereas this advocacy for apraxia victims extends to supporting research, education, and effective treatment for this disorder. And whereas, known as the voice thief, apraxia interferes with vocal utterances and speech. Even though childhood apraxia victims understand language, their difficulty is in learning and carrying out the complex, sequenced movements of the lips, tongue, and jaw necessary for intelligible speech. And whereas childhood apraxia of speech is a motor speech disorder caused by brain damage, genetic disorder, stroke, and/or brain injury. And whereas Araxia Awareness Day opens the exchange of knowledge and understanding of the disorder and the support and promotion of research and treatment. Therefore, by the power vested in me as Mayor of the City of Conway, South Carolina, I do hereby proclaim that May 14, 2015 is Araxia Awareness Day. I urge all to seek knowledge of this disorder and identify the means through which we all might support research, education, and treatment for those children impacted. A witness whereof I've set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Conway to be affixed this 5th day of May, 2025, signed by yours truly and attested to by our City Clerk, Alicia Shelley. God bless you. We also have an Earth Day proclamation. Is Mr. John Freestad here? There he is. So happy you're here, sir. This is one I've been out there and past the date, but I think there's never a bad time. Awesome. This proclamation also comes from the Office of the Mayor, Conway, South Carolina, concerning Earth Day. Whereas Americans consume as much as 4 times the global average of beef and 3 times the global average of meat. Meat production is the largest driver of agricultural emissions, heavily contributing to pesticide use and exposure, land degradation, and water pollution. And whereas plant-based diets can potentially slash greenhouse emissions by as much as 75%, cut land use by 75%, and reduce water use by 50% as opposed to producing meat. And whereas up to 20% of consumption-based emissions in municipalities are sourced by meat and dairy products. And whereas the more attention we pay to all opportunities to protect and increase the health of our environment, the benefits spread broadly. Therefore, by the power vested in me as mayor of the city of Conway, South Carolina, I proclaim that our celebration of Earth Day extends through today, May 5th, 2025. I encourage all to consider and support benefits we and our environment gain through our production and consumption of earth-friendly food. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand, caused the seal of the city of Conway, South Carolina to be affixed. This 5th day of May 2025 is signed by yours truly and attested to by the city clerk. God bless you, Mr. Freestad. And in Chris's absence, Chris is the tennis player. We'll have his mother, Carolyn Williams, stand for this proclamation. Office of the Mayor, Conway, South Carolina, announced National Tennis Month. Whereas, first known as the National Lawn Tennis Association, the United States Tennis Association was founded on May 21st, 1881 in New York to establish standards and rules for the game of tennis. And whereas the U.S. Tennis Association is the governing body for tennis in the United States and promotes the sustaining and growth of the sport. And whereas with more than 500,000 members nationwide, the U.S. Tennis Association is the largest tennis organization in the world. Forbes magazine reports a 5% increase in retention rates among tennis players in 2024. The Mayo Clinic dubbed tennis as the world's healthiest sport, adding 9.7 years to the life expectancy of one who regularly plays tennis, a higher game than any other sport. I hope y'all are paying attention. And whereas the month of May is designated by the U.S. Tennis Association as National Tennis Month, giving consideration to the benefits of the game of tennis adds in our lives. And whereas the U.S. Tennis Association also highlights beneficial health, social, educational, and psychological outcomes for tennis players without regard for age, ability, or environment. Therefore, by the power vested in me as mayor of the city of Conway, South Carolina, I do hereby declare that May 2025 is National Tennis Month in the city of Conway, and I encourage us all to engage in and encourage others to gain noteworthy benefit by playing the sport of tennis. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand, caused the seal of the city of Conway, South Carolina, to be affixed this 5th day of May 2025 is attested to by the city clerk. Ms. Alicia Shedden, God bless you all. And thank you for Item G, no, E. Item E is approval of a purchase for replacement vehicle extrication tool from the fire department. So that would have been a part of the consent agenda, wouldn't it? Okay, so E, F. Item F is approval of a memorandum of understanding. Thank you. Yours is better than mine. Item E is a discussion of a request to rezone approximately 1 4/10 of an acre of property located at the corner of Davidson Road and East Highway 501 from professional district to highway commercial district. Ms. Hawks.
Yes, this request is to rezone 2 parcels within the College Park subdivision from the current zoning of professional to the highway commercial district. The properties are located at the corner of Highway 501 and Davidson Road in the College Park subdivision. Both parcels were annexed into the city limits in 1999-2000. The highway commercial district is consistent with the city's future land use map. A majority of properties that have frontage along Highway 501 are also commercial in nature. However, both of the properties are encumbered almost completely by power transmission lines and easements. While we do not control what is located within those transmission line easements, we wouldn't permit anything to be constructed within those easements, of course, without permissions from the utility line easement holder. They do have restrictions as far as even what plantings could be installed in those easements. College Park is a single-family residential subdivision of which these lots are a part of. The professional district, while it permits both residential and limited commercial uses, including single-family. In this instance, due to deed restrictions that were recorded in 1967 with the creation of the subdivision, the only use permitted on any lots within College Park is single-family dwellings. The only amendment to those restrictions that we were able to find was one in 1996 regarding lots 1 through 4 in Block 9 that subsequently allowed a church to be constructed on those lots, and that's where University Baptist Church is located today. Deed restrictions are civil in nature. Local planning agencies are not required to determine whether such restrictions exist nor enforce such restrictions. However, once we've received notice of their existence, local planning agencies have the ability to deny plans that would violate such restrictions. If the property were to be rezoned to highway commercial, the only use of single-family residential that would be allowed on the property would no longer be permissible under highway commercial. The request was considered by Planning Commission at their May 1st meeting. Public hearing was also held. There was opposition to the request from residents within the subdivision, and this item is for discussion only. First reading is scheduled to occur at the May 19th meeting, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ms. Hooks. Are there any questions? Comments, Mr. Goldfinch, please.
So, the concerns of the neighborhood, all right, so it's been a long, long time since I've been in that neighborhood. Can you cut through that neighborhood, or is it are you sort of blocked in at the back?
You're locked in at the back because that subdivision abuts another one. A lot of those lots that are in there have actually been annexed in here and there, and I'm sure that annexation will likely continue for those lots. I'm trying to think of what subdivision that it is.
There is no rear outlet, though.
Yeah.
And that was the word I was looking for, okay. So in other words, there's no reason that, we've dealt with this before. We dealt with this about a year or two ago. I think there was a home on 501, right there at, not far from 16th Avenue, that wanted to come in. The concern was that increased traffic from a commercial use.
Yes.
But in that instance, that neighborhood, you could cut through. And so the argument could be made that you're going to increase traffic, whereas this wouldn't be the case if there's no rear outlet. Nobody.
Right, yeah, they would likely get their frontage from 501 or Davidson Road, so they could come into Davidson Road and turn. But my understanding is that the applicant is just wanting to rezone so that they could resell the property. And the issue for staff is the fact that regardless of what the zoning is, a family home because of deed restrictions. So it would behoove them to have the deed restrictions amended first and then seek a rezoning rather than rezone and then try to have the deed restrictions, because if it was sold to somebody, they would not be able to obtain a permit for a single-family residence on those 2 lots.
Anyone else?
Questions?
Yes, sir. Mr. White.
It says something about the planning commission was to meet on May 1st. What was their decision, or was there one?
They recommended disapproval.
Disapproval? Thank you.
Is there a motion?
Well, it's just discussion.
This is just, okay, this is a discussion, okay, I didn't realize that. Any other questions or comments before we move on? We'll move on then to item 4F. I'm sorry, 5A, which is first reading of ordinance ZA 2025-05-19A to annex approximately 41/100ths of an acre located at 125 Old Cedar Lane and rezone from Horry County Residential, no mobile homes allowed, to District of Conway low to medium density residential, R1. Ms. Dennis.
Yes, ma'am. This annexation comes before you as the property owner was required to connect to city service once the land was transferred into their name in April of this year. There is an existing single-family residence on the property, and it's located directly adjacent to the Clearbrook subdivision off of John Doctor Road that was annexed earlier this year, or last year, excuse me. This would be the first property on Old Cedar Lane that would be annexed if you chose to do so. And during the annexation process, the requirement is that TRC has to review the annexation, and during that review, sanitation did identify the property and denied the request ultimately due to some concerns of being able to turn the trucks around since it is a dead end towards that new portion of the subdivision, and the new portion of the subdivision would not provide the interconnectivity to this access. So because of those reasons, staff's recommendation is to disapprove the request at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Dennis. I move we disapprove annexation. Is there a second? Ms. Helms? We'll probably second the motion to disapprove annexation of this property. Is there any discussion? There being none, we'll call a vote. All in favor, please indicate such with a showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Item 5B is first reading of ordinance ZA 2025-05-19C to annex approximately 20 4/10 plus or minus acres of property located on Highway 501 and request rezone from Horry County Commercial and Commercial Forest Agriculture zoning districts to the City of Conway Highway Commercial District. Ms. Hikes.
Yes, these three parcels on Highway 501, the applicant would like highway commercial upon annexation. The city's future land use map identifies the properties as highway commercial and low-density residential, or R1. Site-specific plans for the property have not yet been provided, but commercial uses would extend further back than shown on the future land use map. Planning Commission held the required public hearing at their April 3rd meeting and recommended approval of the request, and staff also recommends approval. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ms. Hooks. My only concern is this stretching deeper than the existing commercial applications, and right behind there are residential lots. Is that
There
the
is,
case?
it is residential zoned, but there is no subdivision or lots.
So this is
at
past
time.
the, what is it called?
Well, it's past Culture Road, but it's before Woodside Crossing on 4 Mile Road.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so it's before that, and actually the owner of the Woodside Crossing subdivision owns the other surrounding parcels as well.
So is the, I'm sorry, is the rectangular building Aldi?
No, Aldi is at the corner of Culture Road and
So I'm completely
501. So where
confused.
that red is, you see where that red is?
Yes.
That same side, all the way till you get to Culture, right? Yeah, a little bit closer, yeah. No,
Okay.
back towards Conway, all the way, yep, that's all.
That corner, I see, I see. What is the closest commercial use right now? Is that swimwear place still
Yeah, there's
Does
a
it-
swimwear place, Terra Grena.
Yeah.
Across the road is, I believe, Pick and Pull, which actually makes these parcels contiguous.
I see.
So, yeah.
The smaller parcel in front there is where the Outer Limits restaurant was.
I see, okay, thank you, yes, okay. Mr. Griffin, I'm sorry.
Mayor, I was going to add, it's already zoned highway commercial in the county.
Yes.
So this is a donut hole. And so if we don't annex it in, they can do whatever they want under county's highway commercial. So it'd be a little more restrictive in the city, fair?
Yeah, and commercial forest agriculture as well, which allows a host of commercial uses, so yes. Yeah, it's split zoned CFA and HC in the county, but the frontage is HC, but yes, they could do lots of things in CFA and highway commercial in the
That they would
county.
not be able to do if we bring them into the city.
Right. And I believe, and I wouldn't want to speak for the applicant, but I believe that the intent is medical in nature, but there would be possibly other commercial uses as well.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? What's the favor of the council? Mr. Goldfinch?
Mayor, I was just going to move that we approve first reading of said ordinance.
Is there a second, Mr. White?
Second.
It was properly seconded, motion to approve this annexation. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor, please indicate your pleasure with a showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item D, is first reading of a previously deferred ordinance, ZA 2025-0407D, to rezone approximately plus or minus 7 8/10 acres of property located, I'm so sorry? Did I skip C?
Yeah.
All right, I checked it off. I thought I had done it. All right, item C, first reading of ordinance ZA 2025-019D, thank you so much, to rezone approximately 8.5 acres of property located on Technology Boulevard from planned development and highway commercial districts to high-density residential district, and a request to rezone 2/100ths of an acre of property located on Technology Boulevard from planned development district to high-density residential district. Ms. Hux.
Yes, the applicants are requesting to rezone the properties to R3, high-density residential. Two of the properties currently are the planned development district, and the vacant parcel across Technology Boulevard is currently highway commercial. If rezoned to R3, the applicant intends to develop the property as multifamily on the vacant parcel. However, rezoning these properties will also remove the planned development district zoning from the University Suites development, which was zoned planned development sometime before 2007, as that is when development plans were approved. The existing PD is considered to be legal nonconforming because PDs are required to contain a mix of uses, including residential and commercial uses. University Suites is strictly multifamily. If requested today, the proposed use of the planned development would not be valid. Adjacent uses to the property include commercial. The Food Line Shopping Center abuts the vacant parcel. Conway Medical Center is within walking distance of the subject property, as well as the Horry Georgetown and Coastal Carolina University campuses. There are already sidewalks along Technology Boulevard, with the exception of the vacant parcel, and there are several outlets for vehicular access to Highway 501. The Singleton Ridge Electrical Substation is located on one side of the vacant parcel requesting to be zoned R3. Other nearby uses include medical offices and fast food establishments. The Coastal Heights subdivision abuts the existing University Suites development, which is an established single-family subdivision. Several lots within Coastal Heights have been annexed over the years, which is likely to continue. The requested zoning would allow for the development of 24 additional multifamily units on the vacant parcel per their site plan. If the rezoning is granted, the Technical Review Committee will review the civil plans as well. Planning Commission held a required public hearing on the request at their April 3rd meeting, recommended approval. However, there was concern with traffic along that road, particularly at the intersection of Victory Lane, where Ability Beyond Barriers and the South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce is located, and inquired about the possibility of a traffic study. If a traffic study is necessary at the time of technical review, it would be relayed to the applicant then. For the request to rezone the properties to R3 or high-density residential, staff also recommends approval. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Comments or questions from the council? Is there a motion from council? Mr. White? I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Ms. Hardwick, please.
I will say, I do, I like this plan, but it is a concern of the traffic. I just wanted to say that. I think we do need to look at that closely when the time comes, not necessarily for the development, but also for the students at Coastal and the different places. It's just my thought.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr. White?
I move that we approve first reading.
Mr. Goldfinch?
I'll second Mr. White's motion, please.
We have a properly seconded motion to approve first reading of this ordinance. Unless there's more discussion, I'll call a vote. All in favor, please indicate so with a showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Hux. Now, item D. First reading of previously deferred ordinance ZA 2025-04707D to rezone approximately 7 8/10 plus or minus acres of property located on North Main Street and Chicora Boulevard from Highway Commercial District to High Density Residential District. Ms. Hux.
This request was originally...
Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we deny this. We have discussed this in previous council meetings and in workshop, and I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we deny this first reading of this ordinance.
Mr. Jordan.
I will second this ordinance.
A properly seconded motion to deny this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Mr. White?
Yes. I am one of those that's been fussing about having housing for the community, and this to me was a valid project, if you would. But then there were a lot of discussions that were made in our meeting with this gentleman, the company, and I didn't think we treated them fairly in how we spoke to them as well. Usually whenever, to my knowledge, we would have, staff would go with these people and talk to them and try to work out something. Did we do our due diligence with this and in trying to find new property or more property for them to utilize rather than just carte blanche saying, no, we can't do it, or they couldn't do it? That's a question. You don't have to answer it, but that was a concern of mine. Also, the fact that we labeled the people, possible people that would be living there as criminals, and I thought that was very distasteful. How are we going to claim somebody to be criminals before they even get there? You didn't use the word criminal, but crime. So to me, that meant they were prospective criminals. So I think we need to do better when we are talking to people about that. There was a letter sent back to us about that as well. And I was mentioning that because I asked the question about was the house going to be transitional? And the answer was no. I think that's what they said. But anyway, just the idea that we just need to do better when we are speaking to people in public. And that was a public meeting as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, of course.
And I'll just make to add to that, I would still present my motion if this had been luxury housing or any type of housing based on our comprehensive plan and gateway corridor plans that we have there.
Okay. I have something, I'll try to be brief, but I've given a lot of thought. And I think every now and then, the public needs to know who we are and what we stand for. So I've prepared a statement. The media very aptly described a recent workshop related to this matter before us as having a harsh tone. I've been a part of the city council since 1992, and that is the first time I've ever heard our interactions being described as harsh. I apologize on behalf of the city to the Taft Mills Group, to Nate Broman, folks, and anyone else who may have been offended. city of Conway takes pride in its civility to all, even when disagreement ensues. I promise to do my best to better control the tone of future public meetings. Before us today is a motion to deny a set of apartments, but I think the questions before us are so much greater than that. I think what this has done is shown us a couple of positions that we find ourselves in. It's not about this developer changing zoning of a property and building multifamily housing, but so many issues have arisen around that notion. Whether we get apartments now or not, the larger question is, number one, whether or not the use supported by the future land use map is appropriate for this property. My neighbors, I live in Chicora, my neighbors have spoken very loudly about their concerns for lost home value, for increased crime, for lost quality of life based on noise, traffic, pedestrian movement, and the like. So much to do with if this comes with a notion of affordability or attainability or tied to, heaven forbid, poor working class people, then we don't want those places anywhere near us. Well, I'm not like my neighbors in that regard. I grew up in a very poor section. Most of my formative years were spent in Tinkertown in Conway, South Carolina. Everybody that lived in Tinkertown, that was composed of 3 streets, 25, 30 houses, were all poor working class people trying to survive. Most people in those households have multiple jobs, and oddly, with all those odds stacked against them, those people survived. They brought up children who beat odds. Many of them have shown themselves to be successful in a number of ways. They have been successful in business and education, in medicine, in law, in the arts, in sports, and your mayor came from there. Good people. I just want to say to Conway, I hope that we are not a people who will look at somebody and size them up or decide that they're not worth living next to us because they have a little bit less than us. I can't imagine that kind of prideful position coming out of Chicora, because I don't think anybody lives in Chicora that could live somewhere else. It is a struggling, lower middle class community with people like me doing the best we can do. Moreover, I'm certain that my neighbors don't know, with the current future plan for that entrance to our front doors, what can be there. Highway commercial is next to industry, the least restrictive kind of zoning there is in this city, which means instead of apartments, what we might have built without the city having to say yes or no to it at all. We might have a mini strip mall, we can have another all-night convenience store, we can have a funeral home or a crematorium, we can have a bingo hall, we can have a daycare center, we can have a trauma center, we could have tobacco and vape shops, we could have a nightclub and bar. The list goes on and on and on. Now, I might have been on this council when that future map was approved, but I know today what I know today. And nothing about that plan for that entrance to an established 50-year-old, quiet, struggling, but a residential neighborhood was not looked out for in that future plan that would allow any of these things to sit in front of us. I don't pick this out because I live in Chicora. I've had similar ideas. But I think the biggest thing that has really flared up in my soul is that we live in a town that has housing issues that we don't want to pretend aren't there. We want to pretend that just because I've got a house, everybody else would have one. In my youth, if there had been a voucher, I would have been eligible for it, and I would have used it in the best kind of way. Most of my life, I've had 2 and 3 jobs to be able to make that next step. And there are people like that who are our own, who are salt of the earth, good, solid people who need a little help. And how the rest of us sort of got above that, I don't know. Now, we talk about models that don't work, but we don't look for a model that does work. We talk about our having the burden of more public housing than any other town in the county, when that's no burden at all. And I don't believe any of those numbers. And I want us to recognize what is going on around us. There are good people. Over the last 2 years, rents in Conway and everywhere around us tripled. And we're talking about people who were struggling to pay $600 and $800 a month, now facing $1,800 to who knows how much a month, just to have 2 bedrooms and a bath in a decent place. So I want us to practice what we preach. We talk about our need for density, hey my neighbor, and how we need to move up instead of out, but we need to identify some places where we can do up instead of out. We need to welcome people. We don't need to put this level of highly commercial activity right at the front door of a neighborhood. So I also move that I was going to ask to defer, but that's already taken care of. Did you ever vote on your? No. You did not. Before I make my motion, let's vote on that exists before us.
Continue discussion.
Sure.
I would welcome a conversation, because I don't think in the years that I've been on this council, you know, I can't ever recall turning down, whether you want to call it workforce housing, attainable, whatever term we want to use, including the project that's situated right behind Hardee's that we did a few years ago. Sir? Okay. But we've never really sat down as a council and as a group and really talked about these things. We just haven't until this was put in our lap. And I would welcome that discussion and that conversation.
And if I finish my little tirade, what I was going to say is every meeting we have, this man who sits next to me protests that there is not good, sufficient numbers of housing for people. If we have the numbers that claim to be out there, I want somebody to give me a list today of 10 houses, units for workforce, I don't care what you call it, workforce, affordable, attainable housing for ordinary people who work all day, every day, oftentimes at minimum wage. And let me hook up those people I know who are looking for a place to live with those units. I don't believe they exist. But if anybody can show me, I'll be that agent. I will connect that person with that unit. We have got, I appreciate what you said, Mr. Goldfinch, we've got to pay more attention to this. We slide it by, we've done it long enough. I told my God every time I ran for this city council and every time I ran for mayor that I would be the voice for people who don't have a voice, and I have failed him and I have failed those people, and I don't plan to do that anymore. We have got to do better, and the time is now. I don't care what terminology we come up with. I don't care what definitions. People need a place to live, and people deserve it, or we need to increase what we pay them. I had 10 more pages. I'll put those aside for now. Yes, ma'am.
If I may, I think also, if I remember correctly, that this group said that this was the only piece of property that would work with, that was tied to their tax credits. Am I correct with that? That they don't offer other properties, and that they said there were none available.
Well, that's just for this time. You're right. That's what they said.
So I want to say, I'm not against workforce housing, that it's good workforce housing. I just am against rezoning this piece of property.
Well, and one more thing.
I just wanted to clarify.
Sure, and one more thing I was going to mention is, one of the mentions of why we shouldn't do it here is because of potential for flooding. Well, the potential for flooding with these apartments is a lot less than it would be if there were some commercial application. The stormwater runoff would be less because the impervious surface would be less, but we would approve, we've already approved that somebody can put huge something else there. There was going to be a BJ's on the other side. We've just got work to do. Back to your motion. There is a pending motion on the floor to deny this request for rezoning. It has been seconded. All in favor, please indicate your favor with a showing of your hand. Anyone opposed? Mr. White, thank you. The majority wins, so this is not going to happen, but I want our staff and this council to give some attention to the real people that we should be serving, or all the people we should serve. Item 6, consideration of changing the name of a proposed subdivision on Hemingway Chapel Road from Hemingway Chapel Landing to Hemingway Chapel across from the Newcastle subdivision. I'm going to take Ms. Hardwick's lead and move that we deny this.
And I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that it was incorrect on the agenda. It was Hemingway Landing is what they're asking, not Hemingway Chapel. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure that I corrected that.
Well, I just changed my mind. With that correction, I move we approve the change. To call it Hemingway Chapel, the church is Hemingway Chapel, and I didn't want a development and the church sharing a name. If they're looking at Hemingway Landing, I certainly have no opposition, and I move that we approve. Is there a second? Ms. Helms?
I second the motion.
Thank you. We have a properly seconded motion to approve the name of Hemingway Landing. All in favor, please indicate so with a showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Are we all the way down to public input?
Yes, ma'am.
This time. Item 7 is public input. We have 2 names, Mr. George Ulrich and Mr. Cleo Wright, in that order, please. We'll need you, Mr. Ulrich, to give your name and address and hold it to 3 minutes. I'm sorry?
You want to know where I live?
Yeah, your name and address. Remember, you have 3 minutes, and remember, it's not interactive. We'll just hear, but we will hear you.
Yes, ma'am. My name is George Ulrich. I live at 607 Beatty Street. I also own a piece of commercial property at 2579 Main Street. Wanted to talk to you, or at least launch an idea. I know that several of you have talked about adding grocery stores to Conway. I know several, and it just went to sleep. Anyway, adding grocery stores to our area. So, can we incentivize grocery stores to move to our area with some sort of credit? Just to give you an idea, I'm looking to add on to the building that I purchased 2 years ago. To add an 8,000 square foot cinder block building is going to cost me $1.2 to $1.5 million. I already own the dirt that it's going to sit on, but that is what the cost to build that building is going to be. I can only imagine what it would go through in cost to build a shopping center with a grocery store.
Please tell us where your location is.
I own Roadrunner Antiques, right in front of your neighborhood. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And so if we could go through and offer some incentives to these grocery stores, maybe that could help offset some of their building costs. I don't know why KJ's did not go through and build. We've heard all the rumors, building costs went up, they couldn't go through and get the land disturbance permits. Who knows what the real reason that it didn't come through, but if we could go through and offer them some sort of an incentive, maybe they will come to us. But I think we need to throw the dog a bone before they're going to bite. That's all I have to say. Oh, and by the way, Adam, thank you to your staff for keeping Conway alive and interesting when so many towns are dying on the vine. We do appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Is Mr. Cleo Wright present? Oh, thank you so much, ma'am. Ms. Cleo Wright, I apologize to you, and thank you for being here. Yes, ma'am. At this point, then we'll move on to item 8, City Administrator's Report.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Last week, a few of us walked the pathway of the boardwalk at Kingston Ferry. We've got a couple slides. We waded through the swamp from Depot Road to where the landing will be the river across from the Riverwalk, the Penny Riverwalk, the current Riverwalk. The breadth of our ecosystem is fully on display in this area, from the sandy riverfront to the kind of the heartland cypress swamp there. Fortunately, the water is low, so we were able to go with just chest waders. Bugs aren't out yet, we didn't see a single snake, and it is absolutely gorgeous. We're able to open that up and go halfway through there. Even without any further connections, it will be a destination of itself. So as we continue the engineering process of this project, just know that it's going to be absolutely amazing and really a showcase of what Conway is. So that's hopefully within the next 18 months, we'll be able to go to construction on this and be able to really get this going. It's going to be absolutely amazing. The Grand Strand Area Transportation Study, GSATS, has identified 4 separate locations to improve access management and safety in the city through grant funding. Federal funding is available to implement these projects. GSATS is applying for a $6.3 million grant on behalf of the city to design and construct better and safer access management on Church Street and on North Main Street. If you consider between 16th Avenue and Mill Pond Road, I think the last time I counted, there were 29 curb cuts along with the center lane that is a dangerous setup. This is going to look at better ways to manage that access to be able to come in and out of those developments more safely without so much conflict in the middle there when you come out. So a match will be required in the city that will be only if we get the grant, and that will not be until fiscal year 26-27 at the earliest. So we've got some time, but this is a big project to be able to make that street much safer. On Tuesday, May 13th, there will be a dedication of the new brick wall at Lakeside Cemetery. It will take place at 1 p.m. If you're able to attend, please put it on the calendar. Later next week also is the groundbreaking ceremony for Healthcare Partners' new 30,000 square foot facility on 4th Avenue. It's at 11 a.m. Later this week, John Merrick and I are attending the South Carolina Community Development Association meeting. We're presenting on Halloween and hopefully bringing back some more good ideas to Conway. This is the conference that we went to last year in Rock Hill. We brought back a bunch of great ideas and actually inspired our trip to Rock Hill for a budget retreat this year. As you know, we have an open grant for stormwater improvements to Pine and Beatty Street and upgrade and improve the infrastructure in this area. As it all the way from there, from Pine Street, Beatty Street to its outfall at Kingston Lake. We hope to have bids in place on all phases of this project later this month. Probably have it on a council calendar in late June or early July for approval. We are in a bit of a time crunch on this project due to delays in permitting, but we're confident that we'll not have a problem meeting all deadlines when we bring it. Construction will begin in late summer or early fall with completion deadline of June 1st, 2026. I do want to thank Yvonne Moore, Teddy Williams, and all those who participated in the Great American Cleanup event that took place on Saturday. It takes a lot of people to undo the harm of what just a few people can do with litter. With volunteers that we have and the dedicated and willing staff, we continue to push back. We had 67 volunteers on Saturday. They picked up 880 pounds of litter, more than 60 bags full. Targeted in the cleanup was Depot Road, Boundary Street, Oak Street, Medland Parkway, Ernest Finney Avenue, Westridge Boulevard, Smith Jones Park, 9th Avenue, Hemingway Chapel Road, Lockwood Lane, and Mill Pond Road. We've had several requests from the public for sidewalks to be installed on Medland Parkway. I think some have been forwarded to council. The recent development of Oak Tree Farms has created a large number of pedestrian traffic in that area. Oak Tree Farms did put in sidewalks on Medland Parkway in front of their community. Adjacent to Oak Tree Farms is another subdivision called Bay Village. Bay Village. They have also been required to add sidewalks, so some of the sidewalk network is going in as a function of development, but there are a lot of gaps in that infrastructure out there for sidewalks. We are working on 2 large infrastructure projects right now, on Medland, the drainage project and the sewer project. After both of those are complete, we can begin looking at filling in that network to be able to complete the sidewalks to get them safe and way clear. But because of the infrastructure we're doing right now, prohibit us from being able to do that. Speaking of budget season, the first reading of the budget will be on the next agenda. Final reading is scheduled for the first meeting in June, so expect to see those in the next two council cycles. I want to thank the Mayor's Youth Council for their work this year. I also want to thank John Rogers for his staffing of the Youth Council and for the other staff members who assisted him this year, making it successful. This is not well known, but there's a nationwide shortage of people entering the workforce to do what we do. Hopefully, the Youth Council is introducing just enough of local government to spark an interest that may resonate with some of these young leaders as we move forward, as they move forward in their lives. On May 22nd at 1 p.m., we will celebrate City Hall 200, the 200th birthday of this building. It's the oldest public building in Horry County. And if you please put that on your calendars, May 22nd at 1 p.m. It should be a fun, informative afternoon commemorating a milestone in our city's history. Very few buildings get to be this age, very less buildings get to be this age and continue to be used in the manner that they were created for. And finally, we have no workshop tonight. We have one executive session. There is no urgency on that, so if y'all wanted to defer that to the next meeting, that would be perfectly fine. But I'll leave that up to your prerogative. Any questions from me, I'd be happy to answer.
Ms. Helms?
Would you give me the dates for Lakeside and Healthcare?
Yes, Lakeside Cemetery is May 13th at 1 p.m.
And the other one?
Groundbreaking ceremony for Healthcare Partners, May 16th at 11 a.m. Perfect.
And one more question. I haven't heard that a grocery store has acquired property.
I've not heard that.
Okay, well then, there you go. I've heard that they're under contract.
Very good.
So that's...
If you're able to share at some point, please do.
One day. Thank you.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
What time on May 22nd? What time?
1 p.m. it starts. The program should last probably half an hour, I would say, and then we'll have an open house until 3 o'clock that afternoon. And there will be a sheet cake and light refreshments.
Fantastic.
Oh, a sheet
It's a
cake.
birthday cake.
Awesome.
Yeah, no candles.
200 candles. We need 200 candles.
Just know we put 200 candles in there.
Burn down the city.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving forward, we'll have council input beginning with Ms. Hardwick.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to say, I think it's so exciting to see the youth up here. I have worked with youth groups doing mock trial model UN model governments, and it's just so exciting. I think the mayor and staff who came coming up with our youth council with a great idea, and I'm glad to see that it's continuing to go forward. I'm so proud of y'all along the swamp. I take it for granted because I have grown up on the river. I know the river, I know the beautiful, I know the beauty of the nature out there and the cypress trees and so on and so on. But I take for granted that so very few people actually experience that, or get in a canoe, or swim in the river, or get in a canoe, or a kayak, or a small boat to see these things. So I am just super excited about our trail and where it's going to go, and I think it's going to really bring, it's going to give us it's going to connect Conway with our nation, our beauty, and we talk about it, but I think it's going to give people firsthand to see it, and will give us a lot of educational opportunities for people of all ages. Thank you, and May is graduation month, so get ready. It's Coach is graduating, and we'll have our local high schools graduating too, so that's very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jordan.
Nothing for me.
Mr. Goldfinch.
Thank you, Mayor. Does everybody know what a joinery is? Join, E-R-Y. So I didn't really know either until a few weeks ago. A gentleman, Jimmy Kaufman, is a retired minister, but he is situated down in the old visitor center adjacent from Kingston Presbyterian Church. And I passed all of you out a little cardboard, a little handout. But anyway, he's in there on Monday, and on Mondays, and he has an apprentice, and they make 17th century, 18th century furniture. It's gorgeous, beautiful. I'm a history nerd, so anyway, I went and ate lunch in there with him last Monday, and he was walking through the whole process, and it was just really cool. But I'd love to get him to come to a council meeting sometime for 3 or 4 minutes, and he dresses up in his era, like the clothing that you were wearing back there. It's really cool. I didn't know, I was embarrassed, I did not know this was going on, and I pride myself on knowing what's going on, but I just see this as something that we could perhaps help promote. He wants to add an apprentice, so to be open more often.
Does he sell his wares?
He does not. He does not. But like, if you go in there, he's been working on this one chair for 3 or 4 months, but it's really cool. And they've got a number of them, just like Abraham Lincoln had ordered a number of these chairs, and they're created to be just like that. It's really cool. Anyway, just a historical, educational opportunity, I think, that we can help him build on, and I just told him I'd give him a shout out. Also, I want to give a shout out to Conway Middle School, and Mr. Maurice Sheffield, who social studies history teacher there at Conway Middle School. He had, Mary Catherine, was it 3 teams that went to the state championship? Maybe 5 teams out of, I mean, that's significant. And then they had that state championship on Saturday, and 2 groups from the middle school are advancing to the national championship in Washington, D.C. next month, which is really cool. Excited about that. So, and then finally, and lastly, but certainly not least, I meant what I said. I really would like us to talk about that more, and there's just so much we need to be filled in on. I called Nate on Friday. We talked for 34 minutes. And he educated me, and I educated him, and I told him I had some concerns, but I said, if you'll come back to Conway, let's find you a spot to put this. And he said, well, we've looked, but I said, keep looking. So, that's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eldridge. Mr. White?
2 things. One is on public art. As the young people were talking about doing some type of public art, I was watching TV the other day in the city of, I think it's Houston, those little green boxes where our electricals, conduits and stuff are put in. They had the citizens to draw paintings on those. A good idea, if we would think about it, if we could do that, to have, rather than having the green boxes, we can give them an opportunity, just as the students came up with the tiger, to create something to put over those green boxes to make them a little more friendly looking.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Real fast. We thought about that some years ago, and the electric providers thought that it may turn into a safety issue, that the whole idea is to not, it's sort of a nuisance, a bad attraction for kids. We don't want to draw them to them. We want to teach them to stay away from them. So, but that was some years ago. I don't know, there may be some change in the thinking, but they were desperately opposed to it.
All right. And then secondly, also Friday night we had the Town Green. A gentleman came up to me and gave me the name of it, the Levitt, L-E-V-I-T-T Foundation, as a means of getting grant money to help with the musical series in Conway as well. So I just want to pass that on to you, and it's an application process, but something to do, like to extend it maybe from just May to maybe the whole summer. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm good.
Mr. White? Ms. Butler?
Nothing for me tonight.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Helms?
The mayor and I are going to the life graduation at Coastal, and if you haven't been, it is definitely worth going. That's Wednesday at 6 o'clock, so thanks to the employees for cleaning up. I wish I could have gone, but I couldn't. That was a lot of trash to be picked up, and that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. I just want to repeat that I really appreciate everybody's joining in the volunteer cleanup. I would have done it if I could have. I've been ill. I want to ask staff, please, that oftentimes we'll get email that is sent to staff and all the council. If somebody is handling that, usually it's a complaint, if somebody's handled that or immediately gets involved, if they'd let us know, because often, sometimes I have to trace down what has happened after the fact, when you've already settled it, and if that's the case, it would make life a lot easier. I want to come in, Conway Downtown Alive for Friday night. Now, I wasn't able to go, but people tell me that it was the grandest affair that's ever happened here. I understand there were more people near the town green than we've ever had, except the recent year that we did the Christmas tree lighting there. My brother's name is Joe Blaine. He doesn't get excited about anything. He came to my house afterwards and told me that he had the best time he'd ever had in his life. So I've got a proposal, and I know it would take some quick action, but the concerts, as wonderful as they are, last for an hour and a half. Almost an hour and a half. And I know the city has access to some funds that are restricted to those things that bring people into town. If with those contracts already in place, might there be an opportunity for us to up the ante just a bit to make that at least 2 hours or 2.5 hours? I mean, once you go to the trouble to get there and get settled from your spot and start grooving, it's hard to stop grooving 45 minutes later. It just doesn't happen naturally to a lot of people. So the question...
Pass that request on to the powers that be.
Good, right, but the power that with the money is the city.
I would guess it's less about the money than it is about the magic number for how long an event should last.
I see. Well, and I don't pretend that it should stay till midnight, but an hour and a half is very, very brief, and I'm telling you, people are loving it. When Governor said he loved it, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so, and my brother loved it, and we're two different people, so I think we're onto something wonderful. I just want, once people gather for such a festive moment, for it to last a little bit longer, if we can make that happen. And if money's the issue, I recommend that we offer to supplement what we're investing. And that's all I have. Generally, what's council think about going ahead and getting that issue behind us? It'd probably take 5 minutes.
I'm good with that.
Let's just go. So we're moving into the executive session for the purpose of consideration of appointments to boards, commissions, and committees pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 3470A1. We will reconvene if decisions are made and make those decisions in public and announce them publicly after the case. For those of you who have sat through the entire meeting, we're so very happy and proud of you for doing so. This is an unusual meeting. They usually don't have so many tirades, but mine, for example. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for caring about your community. We appreciate it. So we will go into executive session. We need a motion to go into executive session. Mr. Goldfinch.
So moved.
Mr. White.
Second.
All in favor, show your hand. It's unanimous. We're going into executive session. Good night, everybody.
Keith Thompson and Sharif Crawford to the Conway Housing Authority.
Mr.
Jordan. Second, Mr. White's motion.
We have a properly seconded motion. All in favor, indicate so with showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Now we'll entertain a motion to go home. I move we go home. Mr. White, you second it. All in favor? So, Chief.
Happy sick.
We started taking over. Your food was hidden in the bottom of a bag under somebody else's food.
Bill is about to take
You
care
would
of
be
it.
so
I got a biscuit, I got no.
Who wants a piece of bread?
So, you know,
I would love a piece of bread.
Holy smokes, they said a whole bag.
a bag of